Hello, welcome back to Get Well Soon with the Red Pill content of Welly F, aka Moriarty, where the mindset is still you either die a villain or you live long enough to see yourself become a simp. Alright, I need y'all to understand something. This subject for me is still a touchy subject based on the fact that I do not like negativity towards men in general. If the negativity isn't necessarily warranted, and I do not like negativity towards black men at all. I don't really look at black men as all the same because I know that all skin folk ain't your kinfolk. But in reality, like I said, I don't like when people are targeting men as the problem to all of their problems. Like women are not gonna be able to exterminate men and get rid of all of their problems. It's not gonna happen. Accountability needs to take place, and once again, this is the main reason why I'm doing this episode. I appreciate you for coming back, for tuning into part 2 of the Black Male White Knight. I really wish I could title it something else because the words that I really want to use for this type of guy, Black Male White Knight, really doesn't serve it justice, but something tells me that this is going to be the first of many episodes that target situations like this. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. And today's episode, the link down below is going to be a long form podcast that I do with my boy Jay. And we had a host on there, and we talked about this particular subject, and it was an array of views, and I never in my opinion got my points across. And I'm gonna try my best to do that today. So I actually had to write some notes on it because I wrote notes on the after effect of me listening to the podcast. But long story short, like I told you last week, I found a post that one would say resonated with me. To me, it did more like, once again, tell myself, okay, enough is enough, but I need people to realize that, especially guys that are, in the red pill world, to understand that the problems of black men, it's a little different. And once again, I know white guys, I know Indian guys, I know all men are dealing with this pretty much globally, but it just hits different. And I just want guys to understand that in the black community, there's obviously different languages being used and so on and so forth. And the energy behind it, it's still something that I'm still trying to understand myself. But anyways, so I found this post. James Camper says, men believe greatly in gender roles and historical stereotypes that a woman should be submissive, be able to cook, clean, and do laundry. However, as soon as you bring up the historical gender stereotype that a man should be a provider, suddenly men transition into professional debaters. Instead of accepting our role as provider or willing to rise to that role over a period of time, the arguments are that a woman should never depend on a man, it takes two incomes in today's society, or a woman should only ask for things that they can afford themselves. Why would any woman want to labor over a stove for a man who isn't providing for her? She should cook for a man that she has to split the rent with? No, make your own damn food with your broke ass. We hold high gender stereotypes for women, but none for ourselves as men. This generation of men are the biggest sexist and hypocrites known to mankind. Man up or shut the hell up. So I'm just going to point out a couple things right off the bat. You probably already noticed the shame language being used in this by this black male white knight. You have shame language as far as calling him a broke ass, telling people to man up or shut the hell up. That's typical shame language. And just the overall energy of this post, to me, gives me vibes that this guy is either a homosexual or he just has a hate for black men in general. Maybe something like I talked to you about y'all like last week. Daddy issues. A lot of black men in the black community have daddy issues. So if you know anything about Tyler Perry, a lot of the ways that he depicts black men is just based on the fact that his negative experiences with black men growing up. Therefore, he doesn't really have any. He's never really going to give you a healthy image of a black man in his movies. For a long period of time, it was very rare. And I've never really watched any Tyler Perry movies. I just saw synopses here and there. Probably skimmed through some when I just saw them on regular TV, but for the most part, that's something that happens a lot in the black community. That if you're red pill, you may not be aware of it just based on the fact that a lot of the problems that are talked about in the red pill community, in my opinion, kind of are universal. But this, like I said, this hits home for black men in general. Like I said, being called broke is just shame language. It's made to make you feel inferior to the point of you questioning whether you can be a provider or not. I also like to point out that being a provider is not just a monetary thing. It doesn't mean that I think that even historically, the ideal of a man being a provider has always been misconstrued as far as what they're providing. And I think that, like I said, if you listen to the podcast in the link below, you'll hear me point out the fact that you could provide numerous things, whether you're in obviously people will think, oh, well, you're just being an emotional tampon. No, I mean, you could provide a woman a shoulder to lean on. That's your girlfriend, that's your wife. You're expected to provide that. You're expected to provide emotional support. If your woman needs you to do something that she's not physically capable of doing, you should be able to provide that service. As a man, and I thought it was funny that he pointed out that we always talk about gender stereotypes, and I think that it's interesting that, you know, when we talk about female gender stereotypes, we're usually talking about women being intuitive, emotional, submissive, sympathetic, spontaneous, tolerant, cooperative, and supporters. And a lot of times when you look at a man, you're looking at for that man to be logical, rational. You know, once again, gender stereotypes. Men are more aggressive. Men happen to be stronger. Men are more independent-minded. They're quicker decision makers. They're competitive and things like that. So therefore, if you're looking for a man to provide you with a rational or a logical way to get out of a problem that you might be in, I feel like that's another way of a person being a provider. Once again, I don't think that it solely has to be monetarily. We're more than that. We're more than human ATMs. But what I'm starting to realize more and more, and like I said before, in the past 5 or 7 years, and this is something that's probably been happening for the last 30 or 40 years, because when you really just go back and look at the relationship problems with people in general, you will notice that this is nothing new. I thought it was very hilarious that he ended off with saying that this generation of men are the most sexist and hypocritical. And I may actually put this link down in the bio too. It's the 10 most sexist print ads from the 1950s. I'm telling you, when you see these print ads, you are going to laugh, because the thing about the 50s is, what people fail to realize is, this is well before the sexual revolution. I mean, sexual revolution came in the 60s and 70s. So in the 40s and 50s and the Leave It to Beaver era, you have to understand something, that women fell in line. Women were sought at that time. If you're looking at the golden age of women, as far as in a misogynistic man's mindset, you're definitely looking at the 50s, where women played a role and quote unquote knew their place. We don't have that anymore. So men, I say this all the time, men going into relationships thinking that they're going to get this 1950s trad-con style woman, you are delusional, and you deserve the animosity. You deserve to be divorce raped. You deserve to have your children taken away from you, because if you're going at these modern career women with these mindsets of the 1950s, you have to understand something. It's 70, 80 years ago. We're past that now. The sexual revolution has come. Affirmative action has taken place after civil rights. Things have changed tremendously. Women are those traits that I spouted off as far as stereotypes go. If I didn't tell you that I could read out independent, competitive, bossy, decision maker, nowadays you can pretty much give that stereotype to a modern woman. Modern women are way more like that these days. And as far as being emotional and sympathetic, I know plenty emotional, sympathetic men. Like, the gender stereotypes really are a wash now. You really can't, nobody really should even be thinking about gender stereotypes. And if those conversations are being had in barbershops or wherever, like, the reality is those guys are just not realistic. So this whole post, in my opinion, like I said, just read off like a man that just hates, he just hates black men. Because I just sat down with two black men and we pretty much all shared differing opinions, but none of them, I don't think any of us came to the conclusion that black men should be targeted like this. So once again, after realizing all that and after having that conversation, I had to ask some questions. I mean, he talks about laboring over a stove. And I'm like, does she not want to eat as well? Like, if I'm in a relationship with a woman and she's complaining about having to cook something, like, does she not want to eat? And let's just be honest now. I mean, in modern day relationships, to expect anything is wild, but what are we supposed to expect from women at all? Because he's talking about a man rising to the occasion, but what is a woman supposed to rise to the occasion of? She's supposed to rise to the occasion of things that don't even require her to really put in much effort. I mean, we have dishwashers now. We have washers and dryers. I mean, most of the guys that I know how to cook. Then, you being honest, a lot of people like going out to eat more anyway. You got Uber Eats, you got fast food restaurants. So once again, you're comparing the 50s to 2020. You just got to ask yourself a question. When you're looking at what you want from a man, which is his income, and then a man is looking at you for things like laboring over a stove, washing dishes, and doing laundry, who gets the short end of the stick in that? Like, I'm losing money. I'm working my ass off, and then I'm going to come to you and lose money. My net earnings are reduced due to the fact that I'm with you. But anything that when it comes to gender stereotypes or gender roles, the things that I'm expecting you to do, you really don't even have to do much. You just press a button. Like if a dude told you to cook, I mean, on your way home, you could grab something to eat. So once again, like, the overall fairness in this is just, it doesn't exist. Because once again, even if you're lying to yourself and saying that men are expecting women to slave over a stove, it doesn't work like that. And I spoke about it on the podcast. I do believe that a lot of this rhetoric that he was spewing is really just disguised for men put out money and men expect women to put out sex. I think that's what it all comes down to. And once again, I've said this on the show before. If I'm expected to be a human ATM and it's not safe for me to expect anything from you, what is your true purpose? That's why it all comes down to, why aren't more men going their own way? Throughout this whole post, the guy never speaks about love once. He never speaks about collaboration, anything like that. It's all about the guy being broke, him needing to man up and step up and rise to the occasion. And it's like, once again, what is this damsel in distress supposed to be doing? Because if I'm broke and she got money, like, why am I here? Because she's bossed up, independent. She doesn't really need me. So where is my value? Because we all know that modern women tend to use men like a utility. Once our services have been utilized, we get disposed of. And this guy that's this black male white knight, 9 times out of 10, if he isn't homosexual and he is dealing with modern women, it's probably going to happen to him. He's going to realize that this position that he's taking is not very beneficial to him. I was watching the Master of None the other day with Aziz Ansari and Alina Waithe, and it was hilarious because it was an episode where he got a commercial gig, and the commercial gig was I believe it was about I think it was like a Home Depot commercial, and it was a fairly male dominated scene where most of the background was women just kind of just chilling in the backyard, and throughout the episode, they were talking about, kind of, females getting roles and stuff. So I think he had got drunk one night and he was like just kicking it with the director of this commercial. And he basically was like, yeah, it's not fair, females getting these roles and don't get these roles because of this and that. And then logically, from a logical perspective, when you think about barbecuing and people being outside, it's generally the man that's going to be outside that's, doing the cooking and handling the grill, because that seems like a more masculine task, because you don't want women around the fire. You don't want them to get burned. Once again, it's a white knight mentality, because if it was me, if a chick is out there, she wants to, get on a barbecue and grill some stuff up, go right ahead. I don't believe that I need to cook or she needs to cook, but that was the commercial. That's what it was about. He complained to the director. The director booted his ass off the commercial, replaced him with women, and in that moment he realized he should have shut his fucking mouth, and he put his foot in his mouth at that moment. He's just sitting there like, oh, dang, me being a male feminist didn't work out in my favor. This doesn't benefit me any. So I say that to say that you guys can white knight all you want. In the end, hopefully you're happy knowing that you receive nothing. Truly. You truly receive nothing. If you believe that being altruistic is going to get you to the pearly gates and that's something that feeds your ego and feeds your soul, cool, so be it. But the reality is, a lot of men cannot afford to be in a situation where they're constantly putting something in and getting nothing out. I mean, it's 2020. You have women that they can twerk, can't cook. You got women that they'll work 70, 80 hours at a job, but wouldn't want to raise a child. You have women that don't want to ruin their bodies and they don't want to have kids. I mean, to be honest with you, men are coming across women that are becoming so masculine that, like I said before, the ideal of them being this trad con woman from the 50s is highly, it's insane. It makes absolutely no sense. I hate to say it. But like I said, man, I really don't know what situation occurs to create these type of men, but I truly despise the black male white knight, especially due to the fact that you can't, they're a different level of stubborn and you really can't tell them anything. And it's just like, once again, like, I really wonder what type of weirdo finds joy in funding a woman's pleasures, as far as like, these women they want to go to brunch, happy hour, they want to travel, they want to, have decor in their homes to show off to their friends, they want to have purses, they want to have workout clothes that they don't work out in, they got makeup, hair, nails, the list goes on. I don't understand why a man would enjoy funding those things at the end of the day, if a lot of that stuff is being used to show off to other people, because we know women love to show off their status. Women buy expensive purses to show off their status. Women do their nails nice and long to show off their status. Women want to travel, post pictures all over the world to show off their status. Brunches, happy hours, it's just all status symbols to show that a woman is successful. So if a man is successful, his success trickles over to the woman and makes her look even more successful, while the man is sitting in his stinky, musty man cave, not really doing anything, plotting on cheating. Like, oh, Jesus Christ, man. At the end of the day, man, I personally hope that more black men realize that going their own way is probably more likely to happen than black men standing in solidarity. I know men in general don't tend to operate as a collective like women do. We don't have that hive mind that we connect to. But once again, I truly believe that in this sense, when I really break down the dynamics of being in a relationship and what it takes, I just think that the juice ain't worth the squeeze, man. It's just not. And then these black male white knights don't make it any better. It's a wake up call for us men. And I hate to say it. Obviously, I'm of a sound mind that I know not all women are like that, but I do believe that the average woman is like the women that I talk about on this page. And I truly believe that. And I will take that to the grave. But anyways, with that being said, until we meet again.